This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Taco Tuesday on Misfit Island. I love Taco Tuesday because I'm going through my favorite book, the Book of Revelation. Welcome all Misfits, mi familia. Welcome to the island. This is where we go. This is where we gather during perilous times. Because if you pay attention to the news, you'll understand that we are in some perilous times. This is where we gather to prepare for that. And how do we prepare for it? We prepare for it by reading the Word of God. So we live in this world full of deception, and the way you can figure out deception from truth is you do it by reading the Word. And I call this section Milk for Babes because when you're a newborn baby in the family, the kingdom of God, there's several verses that mentions that you're like a baby getting milk, and there's even some, like if you've been a Christian for a while and you're still desiring milk, he's like, no, you should be chomping down on some meat. So today we're gonna get some meat, add some meat to them little bones. That's why I took the red pill today, right? Gonna go down that little rabbit hole. All right, so I just want to dig in and start reading because I love this book. So a little overview, what we covered, what I kind of covered. So remember chapter 1, John's on the island of Patmos, and it's a revelation of Jesus, and it's given to his angel to bear witness to for John and to signify it. And the key verse in chapter 1 is the outline for the entire Bible, and he says that write the things which you have seen, the things which are, and the things which will take place after this. So the things he has seen is, his walk with Jesus, or maybe he's just talking about right here. He's just talking about the angel that came to him. So it's like what he's seen, or no, he's talking about. It goes back into talking about what he has seen, when he was walking with Jesus. And then the things that are, which will be chapter 2 and 3, that's the 7 letters to the 7 churches. Kind of did a little brief over that, and it's like there's like 4 ways that these apply. There's actually literally 7. These are literally 7 churches at the time. And you look at the 2,000 years, each church was like represented a period during that 2,000 years, and we are definitely in the Laodicean church right now, the lukewarm church. Then, like in typology, it's like he said, it's like patterns, like Adam, or like a Noah. He preached the gospel for 100 years, and then he went, he had this time frame where all the animals were going in. I wonder how long that was. Maybe that was 40 days, huh? Fit into that 40-day theory, 40-year theory for the time frame, because they all go in there. So maybe it took 40 days for that. It doesn't say. I wonder if it says someplace else, like in the early church fathers or Book of Enoch or something. I don't know. Then he goes in the ark, and then the door is shut, which obviously Noah couldn't shut that door, so the Lord shut the door for him. And it says that the rain didn't come for 7 days, so that's where I get my. There's a minimum of 7 days before the 7-year tribulation period starts, because that typology how that happened. And the rain came, and it was a 40 days of rain, 40 days, 40 nights. Another 40. You go through all throughout when the Lord is dealing with judging men, or like later on, chose the Hebrew people to be His people, and every time they mess up, there's like 40 years in the wilderness, and there's 40s everywhere. So chapter 4, he's thrust into heaven, and he goes, he sees the throne room of heaven, and then chapter 5, he sees the Lamb that takes the scrolls. In chapter 6, he opens the scrolls, and we went over all that. The 4 horsemen, the first 4 scrolls, and the 5th was the cry of the martyrs. Remember the beginning? And the chapter 4 is talking about this crystal sea. And the sea changes. The sea, like I said, a sea is like these words that mean have other meaning, deeper meaning to it. And the sea is always like the people. Mountains like governments, the swords like the word of God. So there's you can go through all those too. So in the 5th seal is there's a new group of this part of the sea, and they're the martyrs that's been slain up to that point. And that was, like I said, so I think these 5 horsemen, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but the 4th horse is actually 2 riders. It says there's 2 riders. Nobody, I hardly ever anybody say that, but they say, so verse 5, he says, so I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair, wait, wrong one. The 4th seal. So I heard the 4th living creature saying, come and see. So he takes them to, there's a time frame that they went through. And the 3rd horse with the black horse, and the starvation, and people, that takes time. So I don't know if it took a year or 6 months, but the starving people use like a cycle of at least a year. You go back in Joseph, what was it, 7 years, 7 fat years and 7 bad years, and that's when the people started starving, coming to him. His father and his brothers all came back to him. It was like 7 years, so there's another 7. So anyways, the 4th one. He says, I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name on him who sat on it. So the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him, and the power was given to them over the 4th of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. So there's 2 riders there. So it's actually 5 riders. And like I said, the 5th seal is the martyrs that just died during those 5 horsemen. The 6th seal, the cosmic disturbance. Remember I told you that people are teaching that the stars fall into the earth. How far away are the stars? But if one of them falls to the earth, the earth's done, so it's gone. The stars are probably bigger than the earth. And again, stars are always like alluding to the angels. So maybe there's you see this battle, or these angels are getting casted, because this time it's going to be all supernatural. This linear world that people think tomorrow is going to be the same as today, it's gone. So but Mary said the scroll rolls back, and I said, as I was reading, it's like maybe because they all know that God is pouring His wrath on the earth, and I'm like, man, maybe He rolls back the heavens and the world. Everybody could look up and see the throne room, and they know that God is judging them, and you can see, because they're saying, fall on us and hide us from His face of Him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. So Him who sits on the throne, who's that? That's the Father. And then from the wrath of the Lamb, that's the Son. For the great day of His wrath has come, and who is able to stand? So all these people that are teaching the book of Revelation, they think these 7-year stars and the Antichrist come, the white horse is the Antichrist, and he's on the scene. And he keeps telling us, like, after these, like, there's a time frame, come and see, after this, after these things, come and see. And then they're saying, at this point in time, there's nobody that's able to withstand the judgment of God. So the Antichrist is not on the scene, because when he comes on the scene, they're going to say the same thing about him. So all these people are teaching, which I believe for 30 years, everybody, you go into it and people teach it to you, and then you go into it and you read it and you go, oh, that's what this means, that's what this means. And I think a lot of teachers do that. They're taught whatever they're taught every time they go in and read it. That's what they, because that's what they've learned. They just regurgitate it out and teach it, and I think the word clearly, well, maybe it's not clearly when you first read it, because like I said, I probably read this, I don't know, probably at least minimum 50 times, maybe 80, 100. But and it's funny because when you read it, you get something, and then the next time you read it, you highlight it, and the next time you bracket it, and it's like it reveals more to you. Like he says, like I said in the beginning, if you read this book, it's the only book out of the 66 books that you're promised, if you read it, you will be blessed. And I love this book. I loved it back before I knew anything. I mean, I didn't love the book of Revelation before I was a Christian or knew anything about the Lord. But I just loved like I was all the heavy metal stuff, and they're all apocalypse, end times, and the beast, and all this stuff that's supposed to take place during this time. They all sang about it, so that all fascinated me. So when I did become a Christian, I gravitated towards the Book of Revelation like that, and I've been my whole walk. It's my favorite book. And so, anyways, then like I said, he'll give you like a bunch of detail what's going on, then he'll like take a break and go and give you an overview, and we read last week 7 is like an overview, so there's no more judgments that can happen on the earth until the 12 tribes of Israel. There's 12,000 of those that are sealed, and like I said last week, everybody, it's a little 144,000 little Billy Grahams. It does not say that. It doesn't say it anywhere. I don't know where they get that from, and I believe that for 30 years. But you look in chapter 14, it's the next time you hear about this 144,000, they're in heaven with the Lord, and they're the first fruits. So when do they go up there? Did they go up there like when, I don't know when that takes place. I don't know what part. I have to go back and look at that. But did they go like at the mid-trib? Like all of a sudden the Antichrist goes into the temple and proclaims himself as God, and then they're in heaven with Jesus, because it says they're the first fruits and they're in heaven on chapter 14. I asked a question one time. I think it was on the Hope for Our Times channel, and actually I answered it. But I think who was on there? Don Stewart, because he definitely does not believe any of this. Or the way he teaches is definitely different. But he's like, oh no, that's a different group. I'm like, what? He said it's a different group, so maybe it is. Maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe these guys are 144,000 Billy Grahams going around the world preaching the gospel. I think all of you guys that actually hear these crazy Christians saying there's going to be a rapture, and then there's going to be a tribulation period, and there's going to be an antichrist, you're not going to be able to buy and sell unless you have his mark and all that. The people that like, I just bought 5 ox, I got to go take care of them. Oh, I got a big cornfield, I need to fill my things, or okay, maybe tomorrow I just got married. All the people that's obviously I'm reading about from the parables of Luke are talking about, but same thing's going on today. So everybody's just like, nah, maybe tomorrow, or they're afraid, or whatever the reasoning behind it is. When the rapture does happen, they're going to go, oh well, no, it was true, and those are the guys going to be going around the whole world telling everybody the gospel and teaching about Jesus and all that. So anyways, the second half of chapter 7 is the tribulation saints. He's like, who are these guys? And John's like, I don't know, He says, so it's another group that's around the throne. And then so it's like another group has been added. But this is like the ones from the Great Tribulation. So that's the sealed 7 seal, or the tribulation period hasn't started yet. Antichrist isn't on the scene clearly, and then he gives you this overview, and he shows you these group of people that's going to die during the Great Tribulation. So then in chapter 8 starts where he opens the 7th seal, and that's where there's a mountain. What does it say? Remember the bowls? I told you. Like all the people throughout the history of time, I don't know if it's from the church age or the history of time, the prayers and the tears and the pain and all this, God's holding. I mean, you may not think like this prayer is being answered or something's going on. You feel like, where's God? He's actually putting that prayer in a bowl, and that's going to be his. That's going to make his judgment on mankind righteous. So they're in these bowls, and they thrust it to the earth, and it's filled with fire, and the altar, or filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there was wasn't a mountain. Smoke and incense, prayers of the saints of the altar, so incense. Heaven's angel's hand, and the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. So I don't know what that's going to be, but this bowl that has these prayers, it says he fills it with fire, and he thrust it to the earth. So I don't know what that's going to be. It's not going to be good. But that's the seventh. That's the seventh seal. And then so then it says, I finished off last week. So the seven angels who had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to the sound, or prepared themselves to sound. I left my fan on again. Let me turn it off. Sorry, it's noisy, huh? I had a buddy who's telling me there's a way I can like compress it and get that sound out of there. I had to check it out when I edit it. I know there's a sound section on the editing, the iMovie, but I'll see if I can delete that out so it doesn't bother you guys. But it's muggy. It just got done raining. When it rains here and it's hot, and then it finishes raining, you're talking, the humidity is probably like 100%. So it was bad. So you ready? 15-minute review. Let's go into it. The first trumpet. So now we're going in. So the first seven seals, God was using mankind to judge the earth, and he's done that throughout the history of man. He's always used the enemies of Israel, the enemies of the Hebrews people. He's always used their enemies, men, to judge them, to bring them back into submission and have them repent and, and get back into God's good graces. Now, we're going into the next seven judgments. These are the trumpet judgments, and some people call it the judgment of the thirds. And this is the angels. So now God's using angels to cast his judgments on mankind. So this is going to be all, this is the freaky Fridays. I try to read weird verses. This is where people on the earth are going. It's going to be nuts. But let me just read it, and then I'll tell you what I think and what some other people think. So verse 7, chapter 8. The first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood. And they were thrown to the earth, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. So, I'm going to read it all. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to try to go through it with you. Verse 8, then the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water because it was made bitter. Verse 12, then the fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, so that a third of them were darkened. A third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. And I looked, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the three angels who are about to sound. So, the judgment of the thirds, four angels. So there's some people that, I don't know how this would play out. For me, it's like hard to, like visualize how this is going to play out, because, is it like here I'm in Indiana, and so there's like parks, and then there's like cornfields, and then you drive 50 miles and you're in these huge parks with waterfalls and streams and just caves. And so is it like my cities, all the towns and the grass is burnt. Well, here it says all the grass is burned out. So I don't know if it's like worldwide. There's like he burned some fields in France, and he burned some fields in Colombia, and he burned some fields in Indiana, and he burned some fields and grass and trees in Russia, and then Alaska, and then the Garden of Eden down below in the Antarctica. I don't know how these thirds are actually done, but there's some that say if you destroyed America, you destroyed Canada, this whole hemisphere over here, the Central America, South America. If you destroyed all that, that would like be a third of the world's grass and trees and plants and so I don't know. I mean, this is I don't know if it's like sporadic all over the earth. I kind of like the destroy this whole hemisphere, because it's now after this, the focus is going to go back on Israel, Jerusalem is like the apple of God's eye, then Israel, his people, and then you got all the nations around Israel that's going to eventually rise up and try to destroy them. You got the European, I don't know what's going to go on there, Russia, Magog, Gog, Iran and China, and so I don't know. I kind of like that theory because it refocuses back on to like the beginning. It could be either or. I don't know for sure, but so yeah, he's so the first one, it's and I never got that line where it says hail and fire followed, mingled with blood. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's not good. So yeah, and then the second angel, that the great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be like on CNN live. Once they cut away from 4 more years, pause. Oh, he's sharp as a tack. Sorry. He's going to be long dead by the time this happens. There's going to be some other clown there, and doing the same thing. But anyways, it's going to be a great mountain. I don't know if he got like a mountain reserved in the heavens, or is it going to be like an asteroid or something comes down? But it's going to be burning with fire, and it's going to be thrown into the sea. And this is the stuff that, I don't know why, but whenever it's dealing with animals, man, it like just tugs at my heart. So think about it. The third of the living creatures in the sea, and the sea is beautiful. The animals in the sea are beautiful, and it says a third of them are dead. I mean, it's like, come on now, why you gotta punish them? A third of the ships were destroyed. So what is that, like a ship in the port of Los Angeles and then a ship in the port of Shanghai? I mean, I don't know how it works. But again, I kind of like that theory of the thirds, destroying this whole hemisphere, and we get the focus back on Israel and the people that are, what's going on. But so the third angel, it's a great star. Is it a literal star? I don't know. But it's burning like a torch, and it comes down, and it's a third of the rivers, third of the spring water. And the name of it is wormwood, which I've heard people haven't done a word study. I mean, since Bible college, I really haven't gone, and I just keep reading. I don't really go do these in-depth studies and what's this word, and go do a word study and what's this word mean, and all throughout the Bible, which is I have other people I watch it do all that. But people that's translated this word, and I think wormwood in Russian is like a Chernobyl or radiation or something, but it's going to be something like a radiation or whatever that's it's going to destroy a third of the waters, and then all the men that drink that water. I mean, imagine these people that think they can save the planet by keeping you from eating steaks and keeping you from driving your car and keeping you from putting on your air conditioners. Well. Mankind cannot destroy the planet, and mankind cannot save the planet. And when this happens, they ain't gonna have. So imagine the scarcity of water. I mean, they're already polluting our waters now to it's becoming wormwood and the plastic, microplastics in the water. I mean, so it's, biofiltration system, because the water is no good right now as it is. But when this happens, there's going to be many men die from this water. Then that fourth angel struck a third of the, so again, whatever takes place is, it says a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars. So it's like this literal, is it a literal, like, or something's happening to the moon, the sun, the moon, and the stars? Or is it something in our hemisphere that blocks it out for us? I don't know, but it's not going to be good. So it says a third of them was darkened. So just imagine farmers would know this. You're trying to grow stuff, and imagine if the third of the sun is darkened. What's going to happen to your crops? And you've already had this whole series of starvation, where they starved everybody to death. So I don't know how many people's on the planet this time. Like I said, the all those judgments, and then the death in Hades. It says a fourth of the, so you're probably talking 4 billion people gone by this time. But here, I looked and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven. So now, whoever survives all of this, I couldn't even imagine waking up in the morning. Like you've done all this happens, you wake up and like, what's going to happen today? But this angel is going to fly in the heavens. And he tells everybody, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I think if you translate this word, it's the whore. So he's like, telling the world, the horror, the horror, the horror. So everything has already happened. Now he's warning them. I don't know if you've seen that movie, what's the movie? The Apocalypse, and where he's going after it's the guy's name. I got all their faces and I can't think of their name. Martin Sheen. And he's going to kill the guy who played the Godfather. Can't think of his name. Anyways, and he finally gets there and he's talking to him about, I don't know, I forgot, like the tribes and the world and, the truth or whatever. But then he's sent there to kill him. And there's a scene where they hack this cow. The people of this island, they just sacrifice and butcher this cow. It's a pretty brutal scene. And they kind of juxtapose it with him going to kill the guy. And the guys, he says, as he's hacking him, he's like, the horror, the horror, the horror. And every time I read this, that scene always pops in my head. But anyways, this is a key marker to what's going on the earth and what's taking place and where we're at in this gap period before the tribulation, or like I heard this other guy's like, there is no 7-year tribulation. I mean, it may not be. The whole period is going to be a tribulation, and it really all it says is it talks about the great tribulation at 3.5 years, that last 3.5 years. So, but to this point, I don't have to. When we get further, I have to go. But only one woe was passed, So we'll read that. I'll read that next week. It goes into chapter 9. But he's saying there's 3 more woes to come, and when you go further, it clearly tells you where you're at from these woes. So all the way up to this point, you still have 3 woes to go, and those 3 woes, when those 3 woes happen, it tells you where you're at during this tribulation period. So and like he said, all these things is happening. He says, after this, come and see. So for me, a lot of this stuff has happened during the gap period. And I forgot, I'm going to have to go into it, but I'll go into it next week on Taco Tuesday. And I'll explain from there how it goes into these, where these 3 woes, and you can clearly see where you're at during these woes. When I go down here in my notes, it says, so by the time the second woe happens, so 1 woe is past, still 2 more woes are coming after this. I think after the second woe, it shows that you're in you're actually midway through the tribulation period. So you're getting ready to hit the actual last, the Great Tribulation. So I'll discuss all that next week, if the Lord tarries, and if we're still here. I mean, I'm hoping I'm out of here. We're out of here. All us believers are out of here before I even get a chance to post these videos, and you won't even get to see them. But in the Lord's timing, you know, we tarry and we carry on, and we go pound them rocks. So, yeah, there you go. Taco Tuesday on Misfit Island. I hope you enjoyed it. And like, share, subscribe to all your friends. There's got to be one person out there that you know and love that doesn't know the Lord, and maybe the Lord will use me to open his heart or her heart. And I don't know. I've always thought in my mind when I it took me like a year to get this going, to get the courage to do this. But in my mind, I always felt like Misfit number 2 was going to be a woman. So I don't know. We might be up to Misfit 10 now. I don't know. Let me know. So, all right. So tomorrow is Hump Day Wednesday. We'll do a little bit of good news to get us over that hump. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on Hump Day. Thanks for watching.